we do have another question here.
My favorite question, what is a question for please fix my story?
That's actually, yeah.
And my response was, oh, that's a beautiful question.
Right.
How do I
Right.
ask a question that is please fix my story?
Why wouldn't it fix itself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I no, the serious answer is, well, the person you need to be asking a question of is you.
Mm,
And the question you're now asking is, why do I think the story is broken? What's the answer to that? Is the answer because the dialogue is wooden, because the characters seem two-dimensional, because the plot seems predictable, because the jokes don't land, because I'm too tired to write every day, and so really all I still have is an outline with no meat on the bones? I don't know if any of those answers count, but once you ask those questions and start getting answers back, the please fix my story question becomes, how do I put meat on the bones? How do I make three-dimensional characters without adding 10,000 words to, every 1,500 words I've already written? That sort of thing.
yeah. And whenever I've had that feeling of the story is broken, I've learned just to trust that feeling, like the story is broken. So maybe I need to set it down and come back to it later when I have a better handle on either a better handle on what it is, or I have a better perspective, so I can be able to spot what is wrong with that story. An exercise that I've been doing for the last couple of years is because I've been doing this, we'll just say 20 plus years. And but I still have a trunk of unpublished stories. And so now for the last couple of years, I've been going into that trunk and pulling stories out, stories I knew were broken at the time. And like, I wonder if now, 20 years later, can I fix these stories? And so it's been my own personal writing exercise of like, let me try and fix some of these stories. And so like once a year, I will like, I'm gonna, and granted, it's actually partial answer to another question. Part of my procrastination ritual from whatever writing project I'm supposed to be doing, I'll take a trunk story and I'll try and fix it. And yeah, and sometimes I'm just like, oh wow, now I can clearly see what was broken about it. And it's exactly what Howard's saying. Like, oh man, this pacing is ridiculous, or wow, this character is completely inconsistent. And wow, you call that dialogue? What are you doing over there? Like like every cliche you've tried to put into one sentence. I love it. What are you doing? So, I can spot that now. Couldn't spot it when I was, all up in the story at the time, but with a little bit of distance and a fresh eye on it, it's like, oh, and plus, years after the fact, like I've strengthened my game in a bunch of different areas now. So let me try and bring that stronger game back to it. And I just continue to do that, just if nothing else, as a writing exercise, just to keep me sharp and to procrastinate from what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yeah, nobody wants to hear how wonderful it is to have 20 years of experience under your belt,
right.
because there's no faking that.
Yeah. No.
There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut for that. I was
Man.
we interviewed, oh golly, I've forgotten her name, and I'm not going to take the time to look it up. I'm so sorry. We did an episode, um, and one of the questions was, do you think about the title and the pitch before you think about the story? And I know people who have done that, and who've had great results from it. And then I realized, oh wait, for the last three Schlock Mercenary books, I decided to come up with the titles before I came up with, before I wrote any of the story. Because I mean, I'm wrapping up a 20 book epic. And so I have a pretty good idea of who the characters are going to be and what they're going to be shooting at. Um, but I still needed titles because the titles have the theme hidden in them. Whether or not you want the title to have the theme hidden in it, if a reader picks up your book and it has a title, the reader is going to import a theme into that title that they are then going to bring to your work. You want to have control over that. It took me 17 years to figure out that I should do that. And when I had all three of those titles in front of me, the stories unfolded so much more easily, why did it take me so long to learn that that was important? And if someone had told me that it was important 3 years in, would it have worked? I don't have an answer. I just know that having 20 years of experience under my belt is super useful.
Yeah. Although at the same time, it's like every time I'm starting a new project, it's like I have to remind myself that do I know how to string sentences together? Like every single time I'm coming back to the same spot. And I've been at war with First Draft Maurice for like the last 6 months. I finally got the book turned in, but it's like one of those things where it's like I'm trying to do the second draft of a book, and so I'm going over my going through the first draft, and like First Draft Maurice will leave notes for Second Draft Maurice, which has really made Second Draft Maurice learn to loathe First Draft Maurice. Because First Draft Maurice will leave notes like, hey, my favorite one was from Sweep of Stars when I was doing the second draft of Sweep of Stars. I found a note in there. It said, it could come to a scene. And obviously apparently I didn't feel like writing the scene in the moment because the note said, insert political insert political intrigue here. And I'm just like, I don't even know what that means.
That's
like,
easy.
right.
I had so many Schlock Mercenary scripts where I knew what story elements needed to go in the first 3 panels, but I didn't know what the punchline was going to be in the 4th panel. And that's one of the nigh ironclad rules of the Schlock Mercenary universe, is that there has to be a punchline. And so a lot of my first draft scripts, there would be a line of dialogue, because I wrote things in a template where I could actually see the panels and where the dialogue bubbles were going to go. There would be a line of dialogue that says Howard writes punchline here. Like, oh crap! First draft, Howard, you jerk,
Mhm.
you
Oh, yeah.
jerk.